Hi, welcome to the first part of Buddhism PowerPoint. Once again, you see that I'm in my bedroom because I did it right after the other Hinduism PowerPoint. So we're still up close and personal in my house. So let us go to the Buddhism PowerPoint. Let's see. Boop. No, that's something else. Hang on. Let me go to here. Let me pause and I'll get it for you. Okay, I'm back. All right, so we are taking a look at the Buddhism PowerPoint, and I'm going to do the first 6 or 7 slides for that, and then we'll do a part 2 later on, so you're not just listening to my voice forever. You know, I like to do these little short 15-minute things. All right, so in Buddhism, in this PowerPoint, you will learn the basic biography of the Buddha. You are also going to watch a video about the biography of the Buddha, which is under the modules. So you should take a look at that and watch that video as well. You're going to learn about the development of Buddhism out of India into 2 major branches, Theravada and Mahayana. You will be responsible for the 3rd branch, which is Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism as well, because Smith has a really good section on that. So don't just assume it's just these 2 branches. Even though the PowerPoint goes over the 2 branches, you are still responsible for the 3rd one, okay? You will learn about the 4 major concepts of Buddhism: Dharma, Buddha, Nirvana, and the nature of the world. Make sure you don't confuse the 4 major concepts of Buddhism with the 4 Noble Truths, okay? 4 Noble Truths is a set of 4 ideas or things that are really important to the Buddha and important to Buddhism, but it is not the 4 major concepts. So make sure that you don't confuse the 2. I will point out the similarities and differences between the life of the Buddha and the life of Christ, and then the similarities and differences between Buddhism and Hinduism. Okay? Now, if you look at this little tiny map, and you notice that, I'll scan down a little bit. If this is India, right, and that's where Hinduism started, one of the things that happened for Buddhism to develop was right around the 6th century BCE, when Upanishad Hinduism was taking some ideas from Vedism and introduced the idea of Atman Brahman. This we went over in Hinduism. When the new idea of Atman Brahman came about, and as Vedism started to decline, other religions popped up, okay? And one of them was Buddhism. Since Buddhism is a missionary conversion religion where you go out and you seek people to join the religion, you notice this little circle right here. Since Hinduism and Buddhism developed at the same time, but Hinduism is a non-missionary, non-conversion religion, so it just kind of stays put, you know, in India. Buddhism realizes they kind of have a losing battle in India, right? Because Hinduism is like all over the place. So they spread out. So these little arrows indicate how Buddhism spread out from India. So even though it began in India, it didn't really stay in India. It went out because it goes out to seek new people to join the religion. And that's why, you know, it goes all the way to Japan and Korea. The further away it goes, the more diverse and the more different from original Buddhism it becomes. Okay, so Buddhism in Japan and Korea is very different than Buddhism in India, most certainly, and definitely more different than, let's say, Buddhism down here. So as it starts spreading to different areas of Asia and even throughout the world, it becomes more diverse, it becomes more influenced by the culture in which it goes. Okay? All right, so just keep that in mind. All right, so biography. So unlike Upanishad Hinduism, where you had to, you know, how it came, like Hinduism came about because Vedism was like on the decline, you know, and then Hinduism begins more as a philosophy about Atman Brahman, and it kind of incorporates things from Vedism. So there was no founder, quote unquote. It really developed as a reaction to the downfall of Vedism. That's Hinduism, okay? Buddhism, on the other hand, though, begins with someone who starts it, a founder of the religion. And that's why we begin with the biography of the founder, who is Siddhartha Gautama. Okay? Now, there are many parallels in the life of the Buddha to the life of Jesus Christ. So I'm going to outline these. And anytime you see this little like blue number, that is probably a similarity to Jesus. Okay? All right. So Siddhartha Gautama is born a prince in 563 BCE. That's about 2,500 years ago, in a tribe in northeast India called the Shakyas. So sometimes he's called Shakyamuni, who's wise man of the Shakyas. His father is King Shuddhodana. His mother was Queen Maya. So he's born into royalty, right? The first similarity is that before Queen Maya got pregnant, she was visited by a divine elephant who said she was going to be the mother of a savior, which is, of course, very similar to Gabriel coming to Mary, Jesus' mother, and announcing that she would be the mother of a savior. Okay? She dies while giving birth, and Shuddhodana's wife's sister, Prajapati or Mahajapati, ends up raising Siddhartha, as his mother. When he was a baby, he was visited by some wise men, and these wise men said that he would have two destinies. Either he would be a great religious leader or a great political leader, depending on whether he sees these four sights, which are right here. And oftentimes they're called the realities of human existence. Needless to say, the king doesn't want him to see it because he wants him to be a king. But ultimately, Siddhartha will see these four things. Okay? He ultimately gets married to Yashodhara and has a son named Rahula. So for all intents and purposes, living a normal life, but on a compound that his father had set up so that he would be protected from seeing those four sights. Okay? However, in four separate excursions outside of the compound, which technically he wasn't supposed to do, he did see the four sights, realizes his life is a big artificial, thing that his dad has constructed, and decides to go seek, the meaning of life. What's spiritual existence? What is it? So that's called the Great Renunciation, where he gives up his princely life and goes out in order to seek enlightenment. Okay? So he leaves when he's about 30 years old, which is actually roughly the age where Jesus also sets out and starts to gather disciples and do his work for God. All right, so after the Great Renunciation, or his princely life, he then wanders around and kind of follows different religious leaders. And at the end of 6 years, he ends up with the Mahavira Jainists, who are similar to Hinduism in that they believe that everything has a soul, everything has an Atman, except they take it to kind of the extreme where every living thing has an Atman, and every living thing, down to like a cotton plant or a carrot has an Atman. So they're very kind of extreme in terms of how they see the notion of the Atman, and then the body around it. The body around it is very artificial, and all Atmans down from a carrot to a human are equal in terms of value. Okay? So one of the things that they did believe was that our bodies are just outfits for the soul, so why feed it? It would be like putting a sandwich into a jacket. Why would you feed a jacket if it's artificial? So one of the things that they did in terms of meditation was starve themselves, and Siddhartha ended up, and here's a little picture of him super skinny. He ended up being like on the brink of death because he wasn't eating anything except half a grain of rice a day, right? So as he's lying there and he's about to die, he realizes this was a dumb idea, right? I don't want to starve myself. I don't think this is right. I can barely think because I'm so weak, and all I'm thinking about is how hungry I am. So maybe living a really austere, starving yourself life is not the right idea, right? That's distracting because I'm starving. And on the other hand, living that princely life was also distracting because I had everything. So it's kind of like the Goldilocks syndrome. This life was too comfortable. This life is too uncomfortable. And he realizes, ding, where one can achieve enlightenment is right smack dab in the middle, where you don't have too much and you don't have too little, and you're comfortable enough to free your mind to meditate. So he realizes the ideal path is the middle path or the middle way, but unfortunately is on the brink of death, right? Just at that moment, Sujuta, who is a milkmaid, comes by and gives him a bowl of rice. He revives, he goes and meditates, and ultimately under the tree, the Bodhi tree, he achieves nirvana, which is enlightenment. But not before Mara, the god of death, tries to distract him, which is similar to Satan trying to tempt Jesus in the wilderness before he goes on his mission. Okay, so he sits under the tree, he meditates, he achieves enlightenment. This is when we can call him the Buddha. So Siddhartha Gautama is now the Buddha. He doesn't look physically different, he doesn't act physically different or anything, but he is now enlightened. Okay? This is not the same as Atman Brahman, where your Atman becomes one with a Brahman. Nirvana or enlightenment is just something that you realize. There's no like combination of anything. It's just you achieve enlightenment. Okay? All right. So once he attains nirvana, we can call him the Buddha, and he goes and finds those people, the Jainists that he was starving with, and he's like, here, have a sandwich, and I'm going to teach you the Four Noble Truths. Now, these, not to be confused with the four major concepts, are just four things that happen to be true. So I got this from Smith, so make sure that you take a look at this too. First noble truth, everything is samsara, very similar to Hinduism. Second noble truth, the origin of this suffering or samsara or dukkha is always desiring, which is also similar to Hinduism. Third noble truth, you can end your suffering or samsara or dukkha by ending your thirst. And I'm not saying 1, 2, 3, stop, but kind of like let go of desire. Is it really that important? Probably not. And then as soon as you let go of desire, how do we do that? You go on the Eightfold Path, which is 8 things in your life that are balanced. You know, all of these things need to be in harmonious balance in order to truly know what it is to let go of desire. So these 8 things would include having the right way of balanced thinking, balanced speaking, balanced action, you know, balanced job. Don't have a job that's like a serial killer. Have a job that makes your life balanced, right? And all of these 8 components in harmonious reaction to each other should allow your mind to be free to achieve nirvana. Okay? All right. Now, all of that, by the way, the description of the Eightfold Path and all that is in the Smith book. So I would highly encourage you to read that. Smith is actually quite good at Buddhism because he himself is a Buddhist, so it's pretty important. In terms of similarities and differences between Buddhism and Hinduism, these are the similarities. And what I would do is, to yourself, be able to say this and understand it, because this is just kind of like an outline of what similarities and differences, but you should understand dukkha and samsara are similar because they are both ideas of the artificial reality, right? So when you're sitting in front of it and trying to kind of understand what the similarities and differences are, say it to yourself. So I have them listed here. Those are the similarities. And make sure that you understand these differences. If you don't, ask me. And I don't mind going over them, but you should be able to figure it out in terms of, because you already know Hinduism, and as you're going over the Buddhism material, you should be able to understand how this is different from that. Okay? All right. Now, in terms of the rest of his life, he's 36 when he goes out with his monks and starts preaching around town. He spends the next 45 years just basically hanging around India. He sets some rules up. The monks are called bhikkhus and the nuns are called bhikkhunis. He establishes a summer retreat where they kind of discuss about philosophy and nirvana and Buddhist ideas. And then ultimately he dies of food poisoning, at which point Ananda, his most beloved disciple, takes over and basically says, hey, now that Buddha is gone, the central focus of the religion will now be his teachings. So his teachings become the new focus. All right? I'll kind of begin with this next time and finish up the rest of the PowerPoint. So I will see you then. Okay? Bye.